Welcome back to another episode of Kicking It with Coach Red, where we bring you all the news, stories, takes, and opinions about your favorite teams from the Pacific Northwest, from the good to the bad to the Mariners.
Oh, the freaking Mariners, baby.
Yeah, Mariners are right, but this is not a Mariners episode going back and talking about the Seahawks. Quick caveat, something that will be happening next year is we will be talking about the Kraken. Playoff hockey got me hyped. We will be paying more attention throughout the year, and we will be talking about them.
Hey,
So
that's gonna be a win for my wife because she likes hockey.
it's gonna be a win for the fans as well. But we were talking Hawks today. We've talked lead up to the draft, free agency signings. We've talked after the draft, player breakdowns, nicknames, some better than others. And today we will be breaking down the Seahawks schedule release last Thursday. And we will be going down game by game, giving you our predictions, almost kind of commentating this, if you will. And if you're looking for a guy that has a little Tony Romo in him, knows a lot about the game, but maybe he talks a little too much, and you just want to tell him to shut the hell up and let the show develop. That's what you're looking for. Might be looking for a guy like me, your boy, Coach Red. You can find me on Twitter at The Real Coach Red, on Instagram at @the_Real_Coach Red. Also, hop on over to YouTube. Search Kicking It with Coach Red. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications, leave a comment or two. And while you're at it, hop on over, follow the podcast page at Coach Red Pod on Twitter and Insta. Follow us. Do it, freaking do it. If you're looking for a guy that has a little Chris Collinsworth in him, he's a guy that might play the game. He's going to have some outlandish takes. You might not always agree with him, but gosh dang it, you're going to have to listen to him because you're listening to this podcast. That's your boy, Cain.
Yeah, I'm Kane. You can find me on Twitter at Kane2406, on YouTube at Kane06, TikTok and Twitch, Kane0624.
I know I asked you who your favorite commentator or least favorite was before, and you said Joe Buck. He wasn't even in my repertoire. If you said Chris Collinsworth, I might have changed your intro. Maybe not. I don't know.
Joe Buck is just, I don't know. I cannot stand him on the call.
Well, good thing is none of us are like Troy Aikman. He sings about exciting as wet paper bag.
And when you mix those two together, it's not a great time.
Well, ESPN paid a boatload of money for it.
That's true.
All right. We're going to go game by game, maybe talk about it a little bit. And if we disagree whether it's going to be a win or a loss, we got to come to a consensus, which is pretty tough to do with two people. So we're going to have to make some compelling arguments.
Especially brothers.
Yeah. So week 1 at home versus the Rams. It is the return of the Rams, return of Cooper Kupp, return of Matt Stafford, Aaron Donald back on the field.
But more importantly, it's the return of Bobby.
He's not a Ram no more.
No.
And what you're going to see is last year, week 1, Monday Night Football, Russell Wilson coming back to Seattle to open off the season. And it was a high-intensity game. I think you're going to see that as well. The Rams, even with their depleted lineups last year, played the Seahawks tight. But what I think you see with the Seahawks going into the season is that they are an overall deeper team than the Rams.
Yes.
It's week 1's always a wild card because it just depends on how well your training camp goes, how some of those new guys are clicking. But you're returning a pretty solid core. Your defensive line is completely new, but you're adding in hopefully high impact guys like with Draymond Jones and high draft pick Derek Hall, seeing Devin Witherspoon make his debut at home. For me, I got Seahawks winning week 1. I think they just have too much firepower compared to the Rams, especially in a week 1 tilt. I think playing at home is a big key to this game.
I am in agreement with you on this one. The thing that I'm looking at is how is this Rams defense going to shape up with the Hawks offense?
With
And
no Jalen Ramsey,
exactly
with no Leonard Floyd,
right. So they lost a lot of key pieces.
no Greg Gaines, no Taylor Rapp.
Yeah, I mean it's depleted back there, and I'm hoping to see JSN absolutely pop off at the home
Show up
opener.
and show out.
Oh yes, sir. So I think they're also gonna win. You also don't know what Stafford you're getting, and it's with Cooper. What, he tore his ACL?
Yeah, he should be back to it pretty early.
Yeah, I mean, you also don't know what Cooper Cup you're gonna get after the injury, because ACLs are fickle, man.
Yeah,
So
and their wide receiving core, especially going up against the secondary, is not something. Your top two guys are going to be Cooper Cup and Tyler Higbee. Your next slew of guys are Ben Skoranek and Van Jefferson.
right.
And if you can name another wide receiver on the team, I'd be shocked because I got one more. Tutu Atwell. After that, good luck naming another wide receiver on this team. It's tough to do.
Right.
All right, going to game 2, traveling to Detroit, playing the Lions. I don't love it. I don't love it that early in the season because it's a pretty young squad. They played pretty darn well last year. I think the one thing that plays to the Seahawks' advantage is you have no Javonte Williams, who is suspended for gambling at the team facility.
Yep.
And if you could pressure Jared Goff, he's not very good. We've talked about I've talked about this at length across this podcast, Fix Your Franchise. When he's on rhythm and on time. Oh, there we go. We got a little lion there.
Little Cain.
Yeah. So when you sit there and you look at the Lions, it's a tough matchup for the Seahawks. They're another gritty team out there that I think is young and is hungry. And I think that they're going to be doing a good job early on because you have Dan Campbell that gets these guys hyped up. For me, it's a loss week 2 in a close battle. I think it might be a little bit of shootout.
I agree, but I also think they might win it with the new additions kind of showing out. And like you said, Williamson is out for 6 weeks. That's
Williams.
huge. And then you're sitting there.
I don't know. I'm a little bit intrigued by that running back tandem now with Jahmyr Gibbs going as high as he did,
and David Montgomery
with Montgomery. I think this could be a week where you get tested a little bit more against the run because they might be committed to pounding the rock. Amon-Ra St. Brown in his rookie year had a huge game against Seattle in the loss, but I think that it is going to be tough sledding, and they got to find some losses somewhere. And early in the season is the place to find them. First road game. How are they going to work? How are they going to work on the road? That's why for me, I'm going to chalk this one up to a loss.
Buddy. I'm split on it because, as you said, it's not the same team, and you don't have your star guy. Well, you're hopefully soon to be star guy with Williams. Like
he didn't do much last year. Let's be real. And the Lions were pretty solid team.
He was coming off that ACL, but you also don't have a Jamal Williams back there anymore. You don't have DeAndre Swift, so these are 2 new guys that you brought in. Hopefully they pick up it. But I also have faith in our new front 7 to kind of stop that, and especially with Bobby back, being that commander-in-chief that he is, I think this team might pull out a stunning victory. I do think it's going to be a shootout, though, because as we said, the last time we faced him, it was an absolute shootout. So
I'm marking loss because you said split. Boom. Sorry.
That's fair.
Sorry, not sorry. All right. Next game, week 3 at home versus the Panthers. Sitting there with a completely revamped Panthers team, completely new coaching staff.
Yeah.
Their offensive repertoire and weapons are vastly different from last year. You've got Bryce Young. You still have LaVisca Chenault, but you throw in Adam Thielen.
Mm,
They still have Terrace Marshall, if I'm not mistaken.
so
I think the Panthers are going to be good. I think their defense is good, but not great. And I think early in the season is the time when you'd want to see Bryce Young, where he's still learning the league. I'm expecting some multiple type defenses. I think that the noise is something that will be brought in this game because we played the Panthers a lot out of division, a lot,
mhm.
probably more than any other team out of division in the last decade. So there's some bad blood there. I got this one chalked up as a win. Lumen Field coming back strong and really playing with that home field advantage.
I agree, especially if how we are saying the schedule is going to turn out goes true. Bouncing back off a loss from the Lions would be huge for them and kind of shut down Bryce Young. I mean, the defense is totally revamped, I feel like, from what it was last year. And, another guy we haven't really talked about on this team is Jamal Adams. Um,
But I don't even know if he's going to be back or full strength by this early in the season. I think that when we'll get there. We'll get there. I'll expand upon that a little bit more
okay.
as we go along.
I just think this will be another, like you said, home field advantage. You're bouncing back from a loss. And I could see them putting the Panthers in the ground.
All right. Week 4 going to New York to face the Giants. This is a Monday night football matchup in week 4. Where's your head at, Kane? Where's your head at on this one?
Where's my head at? I think they're gonna win. Um, I don't think that the Giants did enough in the draft or free agency to really be much more improved. You're gonna have a disgruntled Saquon because he doesn't want to play off a. I mean, they're in contract talks, but doesn't want to play off a franchise. Um, I just think the Hawks come out. It's Monday night. The prime time is kind of when they really shine. And I just see Gino outperforming Danny Nichols. Coach Red.
Gino's first start in New York. Give me that Gino revenge tour. I think that the Seahawks did a very good job of shutting down what made the Giants were winning games. They were keeping it close, but the Seahawks never let it get close last year. They shut down the run game and they made a pointed effort to do so. I think they do the same. I think that having Wandale Robinson in year 2 will help. I think the addition of Jalen Hyatt will help. I still think that Daniel Jones is very good. And I think that this team overperformed. I think that Dable will do a good job of coaching these guys up, but I think that you saw a lot of things go right for them this year. And if we hearken this to the Mariners, last 2 years, the Mariners, their win loss total in 1-1 games was crazy. You can't keep that up. And that's why I think that you're going to see like the Vikings and the Giants as heavy regression type teams this year
Mhm.
because they were playing on the tightrope. And you might forget, but you might not. I mean, 2 years ago, it was tougher for the Seahawks in prime time, but Seahawks do extremely well in prime time, doing it on the big stage. Pete Carroll, you're still going to be sitting there in the fall. Weather hasn't turned yet. This is prime time for the Seahawks to go make a statement in the Big
Yes.
Apple.
Yes. Preach.
Man, you like that one. All right, week 5, we've got the bye, and that's kind of where I wanted to push this. You're going to have Jordan Brooks coming off the ACL, and you're coming with Jamal Adams coming off the quad tear. I think that they could potentially be back before the bye. But if they are, I doubt you're going to see them playing big time meaningful snaps because they're going to still be working up to full strength. I think the bye early is going to be key for the Seahawks, especially with those two key contributors that you expect to do things on this team. Giving them that extra week early is going to let them get in rhythm a little bit more and be able to get integrated into this defense a little bit more. Because I think when you bring those two on the field, you bring a level of tenacity and speed that you don't have from any of their linebackers. Bobby Wagner's still going to do his job, but he's not a young buck anymore. He's getting older. He's still going to make plays. He's still going to make tackles. I still expect big things out of Bobby Wagner, but your speed element in that linebacking core is going to be Jordan Brooks. He's sideline to
Yes.
sideline player. And I think as soon as you get Jamal Adams back, this defense is going to get so variable. They're going to do so many weird things with that defense, dropping him down and a linebacker at times, having him be that rush, and at times running Julian Love on the field as well to pair with Quandre Diggs, all
Yeah.
pro bowler Quandre Diggs.
Yeah.
I think that week 5 is a good time for the bye.
Yeah. I just don't want to see the injury bug hit him. That's all.
Don't rain on the parade. All right. Week 6, traveling to Cincinnati, the Bengals. Bengals Def Squad have played in the AFC Championship each of the last 2 years. Joe Burrow at home, still returning that entire offense, add in Orlando Brown. Much of the defense is back, except for the safety room. We got 2 new additions in Jordan Battle out of Alabama and second-year player Dax Hill out of Michigan. It's gonna be a tough sled in this game. I think this is a game where it might not be as high scoring as people think. And Seahawks with our predictions coming in at 3-1. It's their third road game of the season, and Bengals are battle tested. I think this one's going to be tough to win on the road. For
It's
me,
hard.
I might be chalking this one up to a loss.
It's hard to win in Cincy, especially under the Joe Burrow
And when
tenure.
you don't see them enough, you see teams like the Ravens who've played pretty well, even depleted against them, and even Pittsburgh during stretches. Like Pittsburgh beats them early. We're out that early stage where those start of the year jitters are kind of work themselves out a little bit, but you don't see them enough, and
Right.
you're not seeing these guys in person. So I think it makes it a little bit more difficult, especially on the road.
I mean, their receiving room is also disgusting. Um, it just as you said, it's gonna be tough. I think going to Cincinnati, I don't think they could win. Just that's Joe Burrow's home, and he's gonna defend it. So I'm gonna chalk it up as a loss as well.
Okay, week 7 at home versus the Cardinals. If you can contain that little toddler and limit the effectiveness of D Hop, and shoot, by this point in the season, D Hop might be gone. He might be out the door and traded at this point of the season. This roster is a bottom 5 roster in the NFL. There are
Yes.
not enough key pieces. You lost a lot of players. You have a first year head coach that's defensive minded, but you have a team that was built for offense haphazardly. And
Yes.
I don't know how much when you talk. I'm going club dub here all day.
I am also sitting in Club Dub. Kyler's gearing up for COD to release that next week, so he's probably going to be
Probably
playing.
grinding.
Yeah. Um.
He's a sweaty, if you will. Is that? Do you call it that? I've heard other games.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's sweaty.
Yeah. But I think they contain him. It just also depends. Do they have Hollywood back? Um. Contain D Hop, but they don't have a running game. Not really.
James
And
Conner.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Okay. That's not the greatest.
I think we're good. Let's go to the next game.
Yeah.
Week 8 at home versus the Browns.
This one's gonna be a little tougher. Because you're finally getting Deshaun Watson kind of integrated, and
Mari Cooper, solid.
yeah,
Their tight end room with Njoku and Bryant, very good. Nick Chubb.
yeah.
The thing that I think scares me the most is this is your first game where you're going up against an established stud of a pass rusher
Oh,
and Miles
yeah.
Garrett, and they added Dalvin Tomlinson to the interior of this line. I think the Seahawks will be working on getting the run game going. The cornerback room, I think there's Greg Newsome is out there patrolling the secondary from first round pick. You've got
Yeah,
kid
that
out.
that
Kid,
first round pick that they had a couple years ago, Ward, Denzel Ward.
you got Denzel Ward, another solid guy. Last time Seahawks played, uh, Deshaun Watson, it was back and forth in the fourth quarter. Russell Wilson versus Deshaun Watson. I'm saying the Seahawks pull this one out, and I think that this is the big time blow up game. I'm going to do something pretty crazy here. I say that in this game, Tyler Lockett eclipses 100 yards, DK Metcalf eclipses 100 yards, and Jackson Smith and Jigba also eclipses 100 yards, 3 100-yard receivers in the same game, and your running game's limited to about 50, 60 yards, and 10 of those come on Geno scrambles.
That's going on TikTok. um, this is also kind of tough one. Browns are a very put together team as
But they
to a couple years
underperformed
ago,
last year pretty heavily.
right? But when you had Jacoby Brissett and then
They didn't.
el-
It was
11 games,
tough to get. It was tough getting Deshaun Watson integrated to this team. It's still going to be a run heavy team. I mean, you
right?
don't have Kareem Hunt on this roster right now, but you still have Nick Chubb. And Nick
Yeah,
Chubb's going to get his carries. You
yeah.
know that.
It's going to be tough, but I could see the realm where they do win. I don't know if it's going to be as crazy as your hot take there, but
It was very hot.
I I don't see how you can stop the three-headed monster the Seahawks have coming in this year. I just don't see how you can really stop it.
Go and win. So we are sitting here through week 8 with 5 wins, 2 losses.
We're already at the win prediction that I had last year for them.
Well, congratulations, because you were wrong.
It's true, I was.
Well, me and Lefty last year only had them at 8 losses, and we counted the Rams as a coin flip game. So we were right there with their 9-8 season. All right. Next, we've got week 9 at the Ravens. And I think this will ultimately come down to the health of Lamar Jackson.
Yes.
Their wide
Can you
receiver
contain
room,
him?
now, and OBJ. So you got OBJ, you've got Rashad Bateman, you got Zay Flowers, you have a bevy of running backs, including Lamar Jackson. And this defense wasn't as good as it has been in the past, but I think they're going to be pretty opportunistic. And I think that they are going to play better in big time games. They were snake bitten a little bit last year by
Yes.
giving up leads. I think that for me, this is a game in a place that the Seahawks rarely play. Going into the black hole is going to be tough to win. And the other thing I want to say, when you look at extremely mobile quarterbacks, the Seahawks have traditionally not done well against them. So if Lamar Jackson is on the field and healthy, I think this would be a loss that I could put on their schedule.
I think they will lose this game as well. It's very hard to contain Lamar. He's probably the most elusive. I want to say he's the most elusive running quarterback. Just kind of like has some Michael Vick in him with the legs. And when he's running like that, and yeah, you forgot to mention, top 3 tight end in the league, Mark Andrews.
Okay.
When he does throw the ball to him, it's usually pretty successful. But I also think it's gonna be lost. It's too hard to contain.
All right. Week 10, back at home versus the Washington Commanders. The Sam Howell led Washington Commanders at this point in time. They've got good weapons. I mean, you're looking at Brian Robinson. You're looking at
Rather back Antonio Gibson.
But when you look on the perimeter, you got Scary Terry. You have, oh man, my mind is killing me right now. Jahan Dotson, and the Swiss Army knife that was with Carolina, Curtis Samuel.
Yes.
Their offensive line has improved. You're bringing in Eric Bieniemy to run the offense. This is a big-time hot seat year. Commanders just got sold, so you're going to be looking at integration throughout the year of the new ownership. So all these guys are already under contract. And I think that you're looking at the last year under contract for Riverboat Ron. And he's played the Seahawks tough. But I don't think their defense can hold up.
I don't think so.
Their interior defensive line is probably the best one to tandem in the league with Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen. They're both very good from in the interior, but do they have enough else around them to win this game, especially with a second-year quarterback
who also didn't play much last year?
Played one game.
Yeah.
I'm not buying it. That's a lot to stake on. Eric Bieniemy left the Chiefs
right
to go carve his own path, and he decided to do so Sam Howell.
Yeah. I don't think the Commanders win this game. You don't know how Sam Howell's gonna be through these game 7 now? Game 8?
We played in week 10, so if you factor in a bye, they've probably played 8 games.
So you wonder how well he kind of goes through those 8 games.
He had to have done something right to gain the trust because they didn't select a quarterback.
Yeah. I just don't think offensively they can get it done. They can maybe stop the run for the Seahawks. That's about it. I don't think their corners and safeties are going to stop the 3-headed monster. This is the game where JSN, this is his I'm here game.
All right, next going down to LA to play the Rams in week 11. I'm going with a win again. I'm going with the season sweep of the Rams because Matt Stafford hasn't been overly healthy except for the year they went to the Super Bowl in the last couple of years. He's not any younger. I think Aaron Donald. I don't know why Sean McVay came back. He told his assistants, I'm not sure if I'm coming back. You're released from your contract, so you can go find another job somewhere else. And he's like, yeah, okay, I'll come back. Like, he turned down so much money to go do it on what could be considered a rebuilding team a little bit in a lot of areas.
With that team too, I feel bad for Aaron Donald because he was like,
I know, and he's got a ring.
You got to bring all these guys back, and I'll come back. And then he came back to a really bad team. Like,
the injuries killed him last year. But I think that's kind of the one thing is that's what happens when you trade premium draft stock to go get these top tier players. If those 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round guys don't sizzle, your depth is sorely taking a hit. And I think that
Yes.
with any injuries out there, you're looking at a Rams team is going to be tough
Right.
to be competitive. So I
I
got to
mean,
win again against the Rams.
I agree. They'll win this too. And as we said earlier, when we first talked about them, I mean, you come really coming into it, you have one solidified receiver and a wishy-washy tight end.
Big boom bust.
Yeah. So that another win.
All right, week 12, Thanksgiving evening against the 49ers, Thursday night football. Kane,
Yeah.
looks like you're itching to say something.
They're gonna win. They're gonna win. The last time they played on Thanksgiving was one of the most epic like games I'd ever seen. Um,
That's why I think they're going to lose. I think that Russell Wilson
yeah,
and Richard Sherman eating turkey on the 50 after the game. It's leaving a sour taste. And 49ers beat the Seahawks 3 times last year. One game was blowout, 2 were a lot more competitive. And I think the Seahawks have done things to take that step forward. I think what this ultimately comes down to is who's the quarterback of
right.
this team when we get there.
Is it still
I
going to be Sam Darnold or
yeah,
is
is
it
it
going
gonna
to
be
be Brock Purdy? Because I
well,
don't think Trey Lance is going to be the quarterback at all this year.
I don't think that Brock Purdy is going to be recovered to be able to be the quarterback during this game. I think that with the way that they run their offensive scheme and their rushing attack and the way they can get so multiple with Brandon Ayuk, Debo Samuel, and George Kittle always seems to feast a little bit against the Seahawks. And if we're talking about Thanksgiving, we're talking about feasts. So I think that Niners have this one circled on the calendar. They say, we're the big brother. And we're not going to let little brother win this game. Like, we're going to go and try and make a statement. And I think that Pete Carroll has traditionally done well against Kyle Shanahan, except last year excluded. I think that Shanahan and crew keep it rolling and make it 4 in a row against the Seahawks.
It's really going to be a tough game, but I do think they will edge out, though. I mean, I think that they could at least stop McCaffrey from catching the ball from the backfield. I think there's a lot of speed on this team to stop it. And
They've got a lot of yak guys, and Seahawks have been prone to
right,
yak guys.
I think they can shut them down because this is also a game that they have circled on their calendar.
Ooh.
I mean, like
I'm not budging from a loss on this one.
I mean, like let's go back. I don't think it'll ever compare to like Russell versus Kaepernick, Pete versus
Well, yeah, because there's
Jim.
no quarterback to point to. It's like insert Jimmy Garoppolo or someone else here.
Right. But I do think that Gino will come out and perform for this team. I really do. I mean, I doubted him all year last year, and he came out, broke Russell Wilson's passing record. You know, it kind of after the first game when he said, "They wrote me, but I ain't wrote back."
That's true.
It
He did
it
say it.
kind of
What if I make this compromise for you? I don't think they're going to sweep the season series
do.
either side, but
I think because it's
2
at
weeks
home.
later, well, here's the thing is the Seahawks typically in division have struggled at home and won on the road. What I'm proposing here is because the following week the Seahawks play Thursday night again and then have a long break before they play the 49ers down in the Bay. 49ers will be not having some extra time. I want to go loss on Thanksgiving and then the Seahawks turn the tide and win in the Bay.
Okay.
Either way, one win, one loss, right?
Right.
Doesn't matter where we put it. I'll give you the win here. I'll say loss off the long week.
Okay. All right.
In the middle of those two games, we've got a game at Jerry World, Dallas Cowboys in Dallas, another Thursday nighter. Full
I'll let
week
you take
rest,
this one.
but the Cowboys will also have a full week's rest because they play on Thanksgiving as well.
Right. Um, this one's tough because can you contain CD Lamb? That's kind of the biggest question because when you
Oh,
look at
okay.
Dallas's offense last year, it only basically besides Pollard, Dak only threw to CD Lamb.
I don't think there's enough weapons on this team.
I don't either, and I'm really shocked that Jerry
Yeah,
didn't
shut
try to
down
go
CeeDee
get
Lamb. At this point, you've got Devin Witherspoon with 10 games on 11 games under his belt. And you got Tariq Woolen on the other side. You should have a good safety room, barring any injury. You've got
right.
Jordan Brooks back. I think they're gonna smack the Cowboys.
I mean, that would be great to see because nobody likes the Cowboys. Well, they do,
What,
but
what are you going with the win here?
yeah.
Okay, now we're gonna jump to week 15 at home versus the Eagles.
Oh, I'll let you start this one.
Eagles are going to be tough. Last year,
Yeah,
their
they are.
division wasn't as good. They beat up, I think they split with Cowboys, but they did start Gardner Minshew because of injuries down the stretch. Once they lost that unbeaten streak and Jalen Hurts got a little bit banged up, they kind of limped into the playoffs and then got strong again behind Hurts. This is a very good team. This is a team that is well constructed. Um, they've got a lot of Georgia Bulldog national champions on this team that are going to be playing key roles. You're looking at a running back room that has DeAndre Swift. This is Shot Penny revenge game. They still have Boston Scott, Dallas Goddard.
Yep.
The defense is very competent. I think that when you see this, you're coming off a 49ers game. What I've seen the last couple of years is with the 49ers, win or lose, it's kind of the same things that you see with the Seahawks. They're going to beat the snot out of you. And usually the week after, if you looked at the teams that played the Seahawks in the Legion of Boom years, win or loss, how they do the next week wasn't a lot of wins because they were
Right.
just exhausted. You're coming off 49ers 2 times in 3 weeks. I don't know if they're winning this game.
No, no, no. This is the most put together team they're gonna face probably all year. Um, it's absolutely stacked from head to toe, and I honestly think that Jalen Hurts is better than Gino and is gonna
Well,
perform.
so does every other media person out there.
Well, that's fair, but
Uh,
I just think from head to toe, this lineup is go. I think this is going to be a blowout loss.
Not what you like to see in week 15.
No,
But luckily, the next week you get to go to the Titans.
yes,
And the Titans are a very tough team for me to gauge. They seem they're going to be built on running the ball and playing solid defense. Their defense let them down a little bit last year. You're at this point, you're probably seeing Will Levis. You've got Derrick Henry and Traylon Burks,
yep,
Johnny
that's
Smith.
about it. That's
No, Johnny
about
Smith's
it.
not back. Johnny Smith's not back. He went to the Falcons. My bad. My bad.
They don't have a lot.
They're not the deepest squad out there. I think you chalk this bad boy up to a W.
I also agree. I just don't think they have enough to stop the Seahawks offense, and I think the Seahawks offense really shuts them down because I mean, what was it, Robert Woods and Traylon Burks last year, and they did not do very well.
I mean, they won that game off the back of Derrick Henry early in the year. Then he gets banged up. You're getting
Yeah,
end of the year Derrick Henry, so I'm expecting a lot more wear and tear, especially with Ryan Tannehill also being a little bit banged up last year, not being a younger rookie quarterback. You're going to lean on the run. You've got one of the better running backs in the league. By the time you get this late in the season, it's going to be a little bit tougher sledding for him.
yeah.
There's going to be a little wear and tear on that body. All right, week 17 at home versus the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Think they're gonna win this game.
I think they're going to lose this game. Reason being, the Steelers had a sneaky good draft this last year. They
That's true.
fortified some of their weak spots. They bring in Darnell Washington to go 2 tight end sets. Pat Fryermuth. They've got T.J. Watt on the squad. Their cornerback room
Porter
better with the
Jr.
addition of Joey Porter Jr. The other thing too is I think that you can see the Steelers as a good team, but not a great team.
Yeah.
But what doesn't happen is Mike Tomlin does not have losing season. And I think that if they're close to it, they're going to find some way to rally. And I think that when you're looking at the Seahawks, we've got them chalked up for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 wins already going into this game. They're going to be sitting there right in contention for a playoff spot, whether that's fighting for the division with the 49ers or right in the thick of a playoff spot. And it's not like the rest of the NFC is super deep. So I think that at this point you could be getting comfortable and looking ahead to the last week and playing whoever the hell's on the field for the Cardinals. So I think
Right.
this could be one of those trap type games where you're playing at home, you're feeling good, and I think that the Steelers will be near 500 and they're going to make that push to go past. Do I think that they have all the weapons that could do it? No. But sometimes you just have that magic late in the season on those games where you shouldn't lose. Look at the Chargers, a team when the Browns were going to go winless over the course of the year. You had Philip Rivers on the squad. You had a good team. They went into the Browns and lost on a late second field goal, a game that the Chargers never should have lost.
Right.
This is my trap.
So
This is my trap game on the schedule. You're
I'm
gonna win a game. You're gonna lose a game that you expect to win, and granted,
right.
that will happen. But you're gonna win
So
some games you don't expect to. This is the game that I think is the big trap.
the thing with my analysis of this game is how good is Kenny Pickett gonna be?
It's
And
year two,
that's
took
the
some
biggest
strides,
question mark.
but then you also got Pickens on the squad. You got Deontay Johnson. You've added some more firepower by adding Washington as a more pass catching
They
tight
still
end.
do have Najee Harris.
Exactly. And a better offensive line. I think at this point, you're going to see weather coming into play. It's going to be colder. It's going to probably be raining at this game here. And the Steelers are used to snow and tough stuff. I think
I know. Yeah, I'll agree with you on this one then.
main thing is we might not get all these right, but we want to be as close to the win loss as we can. All
That's
right.
fair.
Week 18 versus Cardinals. That's win.
Yep. I agree. Kyler's not going to be on the field, so they're going to be at a weird thing with quarterback. And yeah, I mean, they're not very good.
With that, that puts us at a prediction of 11-6. That is a plus 2 wins from last year, in our opinion. And when you look at the moves the Seahawks made this offseason to try and help fortify their defense a little bit more, because that was a weak point, going and getting the likes of Devin Witherspoon, Derek Hall in the draft, partnering that with Mike Morris, Cameron Young, throwing in Draymond Jones, Jared Reed, bringing Bobby Wagner back as a veteran voice. I think you are going to see a much improved defense. And the offense that was already good added more weapons and
Yeah.
added more players that could start along the offensive line, especially the interior, which was some of your weak points last year, especially with Austin Blythe and Gabe Jackson. I like Phil Haynes more than others, but when you throw in Anthony Bradford into the mix, you're throwing Soldier Boy, Olusegun Oluwatimi in there to battle with Devin Brown. I think that you're going to see this Seahawks offense do some special things. And when you throw in Zach Charbonnet as a 1-2 punch with K9, who we didn't even talk running backs this whole episode
Yeah.
until right now, I think that you're going to have a full complement on offense, that you're going to see this Seahawks offense do things that you haven't seen them do, because Russell Wilson, for all the hate that was thrown his way, he's an all-time great Seahawk, and you need to put respect on his name. I'm not going to
Yep.
stand for the hate. The trade's over. The trade's been completed. Everything's done. Go let him and Sean Payton have some fun over there in the AFC. I'm cool with it. But Russell wanted to chuck the ball, and I think the one thing that you will see that we have seen with Geno Smith is he's been a backup. The ego isn't there like it used to be when he was coming up. Whatever needs to be done to win games is what he will do.
Right.
And whether that means leaning heavy on the run game, whether that means chucking the ball all across the yard like he tried to do to will us to a win at New Orleans last year by just going absolutely bonkers, you're going to see him another year in this offense, more controlled. And even if he gets banged up, I don't think you have too much of a step back in Drew Lock. I really do think that Drew Lock was in lockstep and just right behind Geno the whole year. And if he does start to fade a little bit, you got Drew Lock in the ready. And I think that what you can see with Drew Lock this year, if he does get some significant play time, seeing the career path that Geno Smith took and how turnover prone he was early on and how that led to him not playing, like you're not going to see that cavalier gunslinger that you saw with Drew Lock, where there was no one behind him. It was his job. The only way he was losing it is if someone got hurt.
Right.
Or by someone, I mean himself, until they went and got a quarterback that they thought was better.
Yeah.
So I think the Seahawks team, well-rounded. They've done some great moves in the offseason. And that's all I got to say about that. This has been a long episode.
I agree with you.
Hey, I know it's been long, but before you lay down your weary head, hop on over to social media. Follow me, your boy, Coach Red, on Twitter at the real Coach Red, on Instagram at the real _Coach Red. Hop on over to YouTube, search Kicking It with Coach Red, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, leave a comment or two. While you're at it, hop on over to Insta and Twitter. Follow the podcast page at Coach Red Pod. Follow us. Do it, freaking do it. King, where you at?
You can find me on Twitter at Kane2406, YouTube at Kane06, TikTok and Twitch, Kane0624.
Hey, and as always, stay fresh.
Stay fresh, peeps.
Peace.